We're going to start over the fundamentals. The reason why I started with the fundamentals every single morning is because, or every single time we role play, because these are the fundamentals that you really need to drill into your mindset, into your mind. Number one, you can make up in numbers where you can make up in skill what you lack in numbers. The better you get, the less people you have to talk to. The person who asks the questions controls the conversation. This is 100% true in every situation. If all you're doing is answering questions, you're not controlling the conversation. So remember that. You cannot change a person's perception or belief, only they can. Now think about this, guys. When was there a time that a salesperson or anybody was telling you something and you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for somebody to tell me that? It doesn't happen that way. So the only way that you can help someone change their perception or belief is have them coming to an aha moment. The only way they're going to come to an aha moment is by you asking them questions, right? Now, there is a mix, right? There is a mix that you have to share some information, ask a question. Share some information, ask a question. It's not just like an interrogation, right? Number 4, you don't have a lead until you know the why and the when. So for some of you that are in my office, some of you that have talked to me, some of you have been in this group for a while, I say this all the time. If this is the first time you're hearing this, it's probably because you haven't really watched a bunch of my stuff or followed me, but you don't have nothing until you know somebody's why and when. You do not have a lead until you know why and when. You have to get a clear distinction on what a lead is. And if you don't know their why and when, it's not a lead. Okay, there's more based on your criteria, but if you don't know why they're moving, when they want to do it, then all you have is a prospect. All you have is a potential lead. Okay, so and that usually should happen on the first conversation. So the first conversation you have should be question-based, and it should be with the objective of getting to their why and when. Same thing on a sign call. If somebody calls you up and they start asking you a bunch of things, why and when? When in doubt, mirror their objection and question. There will be times when people come off and they throw a question at you or throw an objection at you that takes it a little bit sideways. You might not know how to respond. The best thing to handle on that, to give you those extra moments of conversation, is when in doubt, mirror their objection as a question, and then perhaps after that, throw in a level shift. Change the conversation. And we'll talk about level shifts a little bit more later. Okay, guys, so we typically have time for 2 or 3 objections, and I go into what we're working on in the role-playing group so that you guys can work with that with your partner. Now, one that came up that we didn't get to last week is, I'll pay you a commission if you bring me a buyer. Now, you're going to get these, especially if you're working for sale by owners. In my market, the Southern California market, not a whole lot of for sale by owners. Not many people like that, a glutton for punishment. But what you do see is when the market is really, really hot, when it's a really hot seller's market, there are people who will throw their home on the market as a for sale by owner just to see what kind of activity they can get, maybe for 30 days or so. Typically in a declining market, when things are going down, you see fewer of them because they have no clue what they're doing. Homeowners don't know what they're doing, period. But at least you can understand their point of view. If the market's going up and homes are selling a month before you actually put it on the market, then yeah, they'll want to try it for 30 days. So when you call them, when you reach out to them, when you have a conversation with them, most of the time it's going to be on the phone, and you get the objection, I'll pay you a commission if you'll bring me a buyer. Here's how I would handle it. Number 1, so you'll pay a commission if in fact someone brings you a buyer. Is that what I'm understanding? Yes. Great. You're confirming, you're acknowledging what they're saying. Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, what did you have in mind as far as compensation? Okay, some of these guys are going to say something all kinds of crazy, right? I'll pay you $500. Okay, yeah, good for you. I'll pay you 1%. I'll pay you 3%. Some of them will say, hey, look, if you bring a buyer, I'll pay a 3% commission. They're trying to save on the listing commission, but but they're okay with paying the 3% commission, right? That's what they're trying to do. Now, here's the thing with that. You can't fault people for trying to do that, right? A lot of people, when a lot of agents that I've worked with in the past, they'll get, a little bit arrogant, a little bit annoyed. Look, it is what it is. The person made a decision. They're trying to sell their home for sale by owner. In our market, that could be like $20,000 they could add to their bottom line. Now, they have zero clue on what happens after that. They're just going to wing it, right? And being in such a litigious state, winging it is not a very good strategy. But that's what you have to convey to them. But you have to get through this objection first. Now, I'll pay you a commission if I bring you a buyer. Oh, terrific. So you've already decided that you'll pay an agent a commission if, in fact, they bring you a buyer that buys your house. Is that what I'm understanding? Yes. Terrific. What kind of compensation do you have in mind? You're not the one who brings up compensation. Okay? Oh, are you going to pay a 3% commission? No. The person who brings up the money first, not a good thing, right? You're setting the stage. Find out where their position is. If they say 1%, oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure if you knew this or not. Did you know traditionally buyer compensation for an agent is typically 3%? Did you know that? Yeah, I did, or no, I didn't, and then they're going to say whatever they're going to say, right? You're having a conversation. The key to role playing, the key to practice is not practicing. It's not a one-up the other person. It's practicing a conversation, so you're guiding the conversation. Okay, the difference between a script and a talk track is a script, you start from the top and you go down to the bottom. Rarely does a conversation happen at the top to the bottom. It does. The more infant, the more cold the conversation is, you could probably do that. But a talk track is taking all these things, having a conversation, and going left and right. An example that I gave in a training class that I gave yesterday, I'm sure a lot of us have gone river rafting, right? And if you haven't gone river rafting, you probably have a good idea. You can imagine yourself in a boat going down a river that's really choppy in rapids, okay? That's what your conversation is like, because no matter how many times you go down that river, you're always going to get down to the same point at the bottom, but you're always going to be zigzagging in a different way. You just got to get down to the bottom of the river. That's what a talk track is, right? A talk track is being able to control a conversation, take it from the top, bring it down to the bottom, and being able to adjust left and right. It's like herding cattle, right? They go this way, you come over here. They go that way, you go over here, and you push it back. The goal is just to get it down to that bottom. Going back to this objection is, I'll pay you a commission if you bring me a buyer. What's your strategy here? Now think about this. What is your strategy here? Most of you will say, oh, okay, that's great, and then leave it at that. Not a sales conversation. I can tell you one thing, if this is a for sale by owner, and they are telling you, or they're sharing with you, I'll pay you a commission if you bring you a buyer, they've already gotten into the point of view in their mind they're going to be paying something, right? 2.5%, 3%. 2.5% is the national average. So don't leave it at that. Say, look, I think that's great that you're looking to sell your home on your own, net more money because you think that, and you'll pay an agent a buyer's commission of 2.5% if in fact they bring you a buyer. I think that's wonderful. Now, I don't know if you know this. Have you seen my name around? No, I haven't seen my name around, your name around. Oh, I do a lot of business here. I live in the area. I know everything on the market. I do a lot of business in this area. Now, here's one thing that I don't do, though. I won't show a buyer a property unless I preview the property, because it's my job to sort out and save their time to make sure that we're not wasting their time and we're not wasting your time. So what I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, is to come by and preview the property. Do you think that you have 5 or 10 minutes sometime this week for me just to stop by real quick and take a look at the property? Could we do that? Now, guys, what did I just do there? Anyone? What I did there was I want to schedule an appointment to go and see the property. You're not getting past this objection. You're not getting a listing appointment past this objection. If you're getting a listing appointment past this objection, the odds are is that you're just grinding on this guy. You're like kicking the crap out of them. just keep on closing, always be closing, and then all of a sudden they're just going to commit to it and say, okay, yeah, come on down, right? That's not a good, well, odds are they'll cancel it. They won't show up. You'll show up. I used to do that. I used to do this when I was a new agent. And I would show up and the lights would be turned off and they wouldn't answer the door. They were probably home. They were probably ducking behind the couch. But what I did is I left the decision up to them. I guided them down a path, but I left the decision down to them. Wonderful. Look, I work in the area. I'm an expert in the area, but here's what I don't do. I don't show buyers a house that I haven't previewed because I don't like to waste their time, and I definitely don't want to waste your time. So, and here's the halfway point. I'm not going for the hard close, right? So, can I come over at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, or is 1 o'clock better, right? I'm not doing that. Okay, so I'm not going to go, so I don't show a hot property without first seeing it. Is there a time this week that we can meet for 5 or 10 minutes that I can just preview the property where I'll be in and out? Can we do that sometime this week? Let them answer that. And they're going to come up with any other objections. We're not going to go too deep down this. You can come up with an objection every which way but Sunday on these. So we're dealing with this one. Why am I doing that? Because an in-person conversation is a higher quality of conversation than a telephone conversation. You can talk to people when you're in front of them much differently than when you're on the phone. You're going to table the questions about their property. You're going to table the questions about why are they selling it for sale by owner. You're going to table the question on, how long are you going to put the home on the market until you sell this home. You want to get that face to face. You're not the only person calling them. If you're getting this objection, you're not the only person calling them. Okay, you got to get out there, see the property. If it's an hour away from you, well, you probably aren't going to do that. This is a good strategy for properties that are within 3 to 5 miles of where you live, not where you work, because there are people who have brokerages that are an hour away from them, right? This is you being the area expert. So I'll pay you a commission if you bring me a buyer. The key here, acknowledge what they're saying. Let them know that you're awesome, you're Mr. or Mrs. Amazing Realtor in the market, that you're surprised that they've never heard your name because you sell a lot of properties. Whether you are or don't, if you're new to the business or you don't have a whole lot of volume, go on to your company. If your company doesn't have a whole lot of volume, then I can't fix everything. You might want to consider going to a brokerage that has a big, if you don't have a whole lot of production, you might want to consider aligning with the brokerage that does have a lot of production so you can use that to your advantage. So, but the key here is to get in person so that you can actually have that conversation. So, does anybody have any questions on that? Go ahead, hold down the space bar, walkie-talkie it, and we're going to go from there.
I have a question.
Hi, Tawny.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Good. Hey, so I had a prospect say this to me recently, said, you know what, I'm going to do the FSBO. And I said, hey, that's fine. I appreciate that. There's just a lot of paperwork that's going to go back and forth. I mean, how are you going to handle this? And then she got back to me in a couple of days and she said, well, I paid a fee like $500 or $900 and they put it on the MLS and they actually are going to handle the paperwork as soon as I find the buyer. I haven't heard the service. I heard about the MLS for $500, but I haven't heard the service where it's just a person shuffling paperwork to the escrow, and she doesn't have to do it. So sure. Is there a service that does this? Because I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, any agent can do this.
Because she's not an agent. She's the FSBO. She's the owner. And she didn't want to list.
No. Any agent can actually provide that service, is what I meant.
Oh, for extra.
Right. As an independent contractor, and you're going to have to check with your office policy, but as an independent contractor, that you get to choose what your business model is. And you're going to come up with these, right? Where people lack in value, they make up in price. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you look up the production of that person, they don't do much. You don't get much. But here's how you handle that. Look, number one is that you have to accept the fact that not everybody's going to list their property with you. It's just not going to happen. Number two, not everybody is so focused. A lot of people, you're going to get beat out on price. You're going to get someone who's going to pay $900 to get the home on the MLS and literally get nothing, right? So you have to accept the fact that that is the situation. The way that you solve that is have more leads than you do that. So the person who only has this one conversation with a for sale by owner, then you're going to come from a desperation, and you're just going to continue to try to convince them after they spent $900, right? What you should ask in that, now I'm assuming that this conversation happened while you were on the phone.
Yeah, it was
okay.
Just a few weeks ago during COVID.
So here's how this happened, and this is going to tie into this, right? Because that's really what they're saying is that I'll pay a buyer's commission, but they paid $900 to get on the MLS, so they've already agreed to pay the buyer's commission, right? So it's kind of it's one level higher than this, right? What probably happened is one of these low-producing people that have a real estate license, maybe got it out of a Cracker Jack box, decided that they're going to call for sale by owners and just do a volume business and just charge them $900 upfront to put on the MLS. Bravo to them. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if you don't mind me asking you a question, so you spent $900. No, we're role playing. Now you spent $900 for an agent to put this on and handle the paperwork, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what's going to happen if it doesn't sell? Do you get your $900 back, or are you still into it $900?
No, I'm positive it's going to sell because, I want it at that price point, and it's a great condo I'm selling. Okay. And it is not refundable from what I. Oh,
interesting. Okay. So again, I get that you want that price for it and you want to sell it. I know what you want, but what happens if what you don't want? Is this in perpetuity? If you paid him $900 and if it never sells, you're going to have this on the market for the rest of time? Or is there a time commitment here?
You know what? There was a time commitment. I followed up after that, and she sold it to the first buyer, I guess, and got like $500 less than what she wanted.
Okay.
But there was like.
So she already sold the property. In the scenario you brought up, she already sold the property.
Yes.
Okay. See, that's the interesting thing is that in the market that we're in a lot of different markets, it's so hot that homes are selling before the seller even thinks that they want to sell it. That's how fast things are selling. So when you do that, the value of the real estate agent is actually depleted, right? They're like, God, if I can just put the home on the MLS, do a special little dance, and all of a sudden it sells, and I don't have to pay a commission. I only paid $900. That's a bargain, right? You got to look at it from the consumer's point of view.
Yeah.
Right. It comes down to value, and you're gonna lose. What I would have done on this is I would have gone back to it. I don't want to have a conversation on the phone and try to convince them to ask questions to change their belief pattern, especially after they invested $900, right? I don't care who you are, you put $900 into it, you're going to give it some time to see what kind of return on that $900 you're going to get. Sounds like she made a pretty good return if she doesn't get sued, because the quality of agent that she's getting is not somebody who does a lot of transactions and didn't negotiate for her. She negotiated for herself. She probably could have got $10,000 more than that if she was in this market, right?
She got asking price, a little bit below asking price.
Yeah. So if she was in my market, if she listed it with a competent agent and they market it property, it's very likely that it would have gone X amount of dollars over asking price. So she's looking at it. She spent $900 and only had to come off $500. I'm looking at it as, well, God, you could have spent 2.5%, 3% more and could have got, $10,000. The margin's different, right? But you can't have that conversation on the phone. You can't have that conversation. You have rapport, and you can't build rapport if they have a wall up, right? The only way that you're going to be able to do that is to go for that commitment. Say, look, I sell a lot of properties in this condo development. I represent a lot of buyers. One thing that I don't do is I don't go show a buyer that I haven't previewed first. I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to waste your time. So is there some time this week that I could come by 5 or 10 minutes? I'll be in and out just to take a look at the property. Can I do that? Right? That's what I would do. Because now when you're face to face, the conversation, they can't get away from you, right? They're going to sit there and talk about things. People will share with you more things when you're face to face than they ever will on the phone, ever will on Zoom, right? So it's a numbers game. especially right now. The market's going to shift.
Sure if there was I wasn't sure if there was a service that did that paperwork back and forth with the
there's
buyers.
dime a dozen. It's a dime a dozen.
Okay.
And you'll see more of them. Come on. Okay. Right. Any other questions on this, guys, before I move on to the next objection? All right. So the next objection is this. I'll sell the home next year. Okay. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I totally get it that you want to sell your home next year. Now, guys, this is going to come down to the fundamentals. This is going to come down to the fundamentals. Why and when, right? Well, we decided we're going to sell the home next year. Oh, that's interesting. If you don't mind me asking, why do you want to sell the home next year instead of now? Now, I did a softener, right? If I just would have went into it, say, oh, that's cool. Why do you want to sell the home next year and now? That's a little bit intrusive, right? A little bit, depending on how you say that, could come off totally wrong. You could shut somebody down. If all you said is, look, if you don't mind me asking, or while I have you on the phone, or you could do both. Hey, if you don't mind me asking while I have you on the phone, why do you want to sell the home next year instead of this year? And let them come up with whatever they're going to come up with. Right now, most people are going to say something about COVID. You know, most people are going to want to see what the market's going to do. Some people are going to say after the elections. And then what you're going to do is the same thing that I've been saying that you guys are probably getting sick of hearing me saying, but I say it so often and I teach it so often that I've internalized it. Look, they're going to come up with their reason. I want to wait until after the elections. Great. Look, I totally get that you want to wait until the elections. But let me ask you a question. If it were to cost you tens of thousands of dollars to wait until after the elections than actually selling it now, would that make any change in your decision making? Honest question, guys. Well, what do you mean? Yeah, it probably would, but what do you mean? You know, that's a great question. Do you have a few minutes for us to talk right now? I'm asking them for permission for a little bit longer time, right? My assumption is that this is a first introductory call. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's the thing. I don't know if you know this or not, but right now, the house that you're sitting in is worth more money than it ever has been in the history of forever. Okay, that's my thing. I always say the history of forever. You know, people always tune in. When you throw a little bit of humor into things, it lightens the mood. In the history of forever, right? If you wait until after the elections, we have a lot of gnarly things going on. We have attack on jobs, attack on wages, attack on income. All of those are downward pressure on prices. And we have, you know, the government printing a bunch of monopoly money to make sure that unemployment's paid, to buy mortgage-backed securities, to buy mortgage bonds, to keep interest rates down low. So the reason why I say that is when things start to unthaw, depending on what side of camp you're on, there's people who are really smart on one side saying that everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows, and then there's a really smart and experienced people on the other side that says, you know, it's going to be the opposite of that. So right now you have 100% probability to sell your home at a really, really, really high price. Probably get multiple offers, probably get over list price. But if you wait until after the elections, depending on what your belief system, now one of those sides are going to be wrong. So you're gambling your equity. There's a 50-50 gamble on your equity that you're going to sell next year, get about the same money that you're getting now, or you're going to start chasing the market down. Now, that is a true point of view in every market that people I've talked to in, right? Now, you don't want to impose, you're not telling. I did not choose a side, right? What I said is, look, your home is worth more than it's ever been in the history of forever. After the elections, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Everybody knows there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I don't think that we need to validate that. And there's two sides to this equation. One of them's going to be wrong. It's true. One of them's going to be wrong. And it's a 50-50 gamble on your part. And I'll tell you what, you could make the same amount of money, maybe net a little bit more. But what happens if you have to start chasing the market down? Because I'll tell you what, in the Great Recession, chasing the market down on the sales price of your home meant tens of $20,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. It just keeps going down like a rock. I could show you a chart. So my question is to you, if it meant getting 100% probability to sell now or cost you tens of thousands of dollars by waiting, would that make a difference on your decision making? Some people it won't, guys. Some people it's a condition. They can't sell because of X, Y, or Z, right? It's a condition. But for other people who are just doing it out of a convenience factor and a sit and wait, quite honest to God, this is why I'm good at this objection. I truly believe that if you're a seller and you're not selling right now and you're looking at selling in the near future, that there is something wrong with your mind if you're not taking advantage of this right now, because it will stop. It can stop just as soon as it started, just as fast as it started, right? So that's my belief system. I think if you're looking to sell, then you're foolish not to sell like right now and get in, because when everybody else gets back in and if the market shifts, well, now you have a bunch of competition, you're chasing the market down. So that's how I'd handle then. So guys, thanks for coming in. I'll talk to you later.